You are going to get through this.
Easy for listening. I was able to do it.
Easy for dancing.
I'm not a great lover of cat. That's my fear.
You're a disgrace, you are.
Not me. That's my fear.
You're a disgrace, you are.
Hello and welcome to Have Your Say One-on-One Shadowboxing. Today my guest at WTV Studios, Wenda. Wenda is a freedom fighter from West Papua, and he's here now in a tour in Australia. How are you, Benny?
Thank you very much. I'm well. Thank you for having
Is
me.
that first time in Australia?
This is my second time. So,
And how do you like the people in here?
our people in the WA is very good and welcoming me very well. Really well received.
Benny, you are a freedom fighter and you want to stop the genocide in Paradise, which is West Papua. And you now living in an exile in England, in Oxford. What's happened? Go back to the beginning, sort of before the British and before the Dutch. It was one island, one wonderful paradise. Why is it get cut into two halves, and what's happened?
Yeah, these islands, before European conquer, British, Dutch and Germans, these islands was free and they are same people. There is no border, and New Guinea Island is north of Australia, 250 kilometers north of Australia. But then after Dutch, British and German conquer, and then they cut like these pieces, like cake, you know, and northern part is called New Guinea, is German, and southern part of Papua is British, and east, western half is Dutch.
So what was the sort of time of arrival of the Dutch? They arrived first or the British arrived first into New
The
Guinea?
Dutch arrived, and
first.
then British,
Then the British
from the Pacific.
followed from the Pacific, then the Germans
Then
get
German,
into the same
northern, yeah,
territory.
yeah.
Yes. How long they been kept?
100 years.
More than 100 years.
100 years.
Been occupied by the
occupied.
Dutch, British,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
the Germans.
And the eastern half, British negotiation between German then take over. Then the British control the territory and then give to Australia to admin. Then the Australia British decide give independence to Papua New Guinea. They give independence 1975. Western half still controlled by the Dutch.
Yes.
And then rest of the Spice Islands, so-called. And Indonesia got independent from the Dutch 1945.
Yes,
West Papua,
after the Second World
yeah,
War.
and then West Papua is still part of the Dutch New Guinea. So 20 years we're under the Dutch, nothing to do with Indonesia at the time, because
Yes.
the Dutch saying these are different, there are some
Different people.
different people.
They kept it another 20 years after they get the freedom or give the freedom to the Indonesians. So what's happened in the early 60s?
So the Dutch prepare give independent. So they set up the first parliament called New Guinea Rat Council, and we have a national anthem. We have a national flag called Morning Star.
Yes.
So that Morning Star we still have, and
Yes.
the curriculum, everything we have it all. Everything is ready, set up. Then
And what was the language that time in the 60s?
at the time Malay. The
Malay.
Dutch introduced Malay because this Malay, Indonesian, and some Singaporean, Malaysian, some of them spoke the. So that's introduced
To
called
West
Malay. We
Papua?
call Malay. Yes.
So Malay.
There's a
So
like
that was the
lingua franca.
language, not
Lingua franca.
Dutch.
No,
Not
all the
Dutch.
Dutch as well. Dutch.
Dutch was
Our
the
parents at the time spoke the Dutch.
Dutch and the Malay.
Yeah, Malay.
So it was a good education what the people
That's
got that
very
time?
good. Our parents and our grandparents say it's very good system that Dutch introduced at the time.
So the Dutch decided to give freedom for West Papua and establish a new independent country with their own flag, with their own anthem to sing, with their own parliament, and leave them to govern themselves.
Yes, that's what they
Then they walked away.
So then what happened? They still control, they still Some of the Papuans sent to Netherlands study engineering. But then Indonesia kept asking the Dutch, no, they really want the West Papua because of resources, because of the second claim is all former Dutch is automatic to ours, including West Papua.
Whatever was the part of the Dutch colony in Indonesia and outside Indonesia,
Is West Papua.
should become
Part
part of
Dutch,
Indonesia.
But the Dutch kept saying, no, they are different.
They're different
that's why,
people.
Yeah, that's why they don't want independence. So then they...
You mean that's why the
they don't want to-
Indonesians don't want it to independence?
Yeah, they don't want West Papua independent country. And then we just temporary admin. Then, yes.
UN, the United Nations, took the administration of West Papua
Well, yes.
until the negotiations went on. Then,
went
then they negotiated in
Yes.
New York after that.
Yeah, then negotiation was discussed on 15th of August 1962 in New York. And that negotiation, the West Papua never include that discussion.
So the people from West Papua
Never
did not represent or didn't
represent.
went into New York for the negotiation
Yes.
about their own freedom.
Yes, three countries are decide.
3 countries
Without-
plus the United Nations.
Yeah, without discussion with
With West
consult
Papuans.
with Papuan.
Okay,
And-
so what was the outcome of that sort of negotiation in New York under the umbrella of the ENS or the United Nations?
That discussion was, we call a sacred discussion. And what they discussed was, we will, 5 years' time, hold a referendum in West Papua. So the agreement was one man, one vote.
On what? On
referendum.
deciding the referendum to decide if West Papua will be independent or part
Yeah,
of Indonesia.
That's
So that
with-
was a clear-cut negotiation.
Yeah.
And until the referendum been held, who got the temporary administration over West Papua?
That's UN, including Indonesia military. That was militarily, after the discussion, the militarily, Indonesia militarily sent West Papua 1963, after that negotiation, after the discussion.
Yes.
And then that...
But that still was administered by the United Nations and militarily supported by
Indonesia,
Indonesia.
militarily, yes.
Militarily. West Papua was not part,
Yeah.
but was an international agreement
Yes.
recognized by those parties, and West Papuans lived under that regime, knowing they're gonna have a referendum in 5 years' time. So, as the referendum came in 1969.
69.
So all these parties kept their promise. So they say this is time for another referendum, and let's see what's the decision of the West Papuans. So let's come the referendum, and one vote, one person.
Yes, that's what agreement. But then didn't happen in the
So
field.
what has happened?
What
Danny?
happened was, population was 1 million, and 1 in 20 handpicked by Indonesia
So
gunpoint.
1,020 people from the 1 million population
Yes.
became the handpicked
By Indonesia.
representatives
Yes.
of West Papua.
Yes.
And Indonesians handpicked those people?
Yes.
How
but
do they done it?
They pick all the, they go to every tribe and then pick all the chief. All the chief.
The chiefs of the tribes.
Tribe.
Because practically they can say,
Yeah.
you know, the tribe make decisions and the chief's there to run the
Represent
tribe
five.
and then could represent the
Yeah.
tribe anyway.
Yeah.
So that was the argument behind that.
Yeah.
What was the Indonesians hoping to get from that sort of 1,020 people vote? Why they done it that way?
Because they worry if minority vote, they feel that they will lose. That's why the simple thing that pick all these elders to round them up.
Hoping they will say something
Yeah,
different.
then even they told them, when time UN come, you have to declare we want join Indonesia, not independent, not West Papua. That's why my father was saying that we didn't vote. We were surrounded by Indonesian military telling us what to say. We didn't say anything. They telling us join Indonesia. That you have to declare.
But the 1,020 people didn't declare that. by the end of
They just,
the roundup?
just go in the room and just raise their hands, join Indonesia. Even they don't want it. But because the military were surrounding, you can, even some of the elder didn't say join Indonesia, they cut the tongue out of the mouth. Some of them dropped from helicopter. This is the history of what happened. So that's why when myself, studied this, and this is not fair. Why UN let happen? Why big power let happen? Now the time need to new run referendum for West Papua. Then with people of West Papua decide free or not, that's up to the people. My task is the history are wrong, need to correct it. That's UN history.
So what was the view of the United Nations on that event of the referendum?
UN, they know that's wrong. And secondly, they know that very clear message that they took the note. And they also broke their own rules, so they can't do anything. That's why my people coming out on the street that we want to new self-determination. We launched the campaign. Now we go around the world to telling that we need support. Now I'm coming to Pacific because all the Pacific country like Vanuatu, Solomon Island, are supporting this campaign, and also we are now become a member of the Melanesia Sphere Group, which is sub-regional, and also we are campaigning for lobbies Pacific Island Forum to gain the support and bring this case back to UN to review it and give the West Papua another chance.
On that note, Benny, we have to go for a short break, but please stay with us because after the break I'm coming back with more discussion on the future of West Papua with Benny, the freedom fighter.